Guys, we are having so much fun over at patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. Now, what's a Patreon? Just for a couple bucks a month, you get all kinds of bonus content. The show you're about to listen to, our patrons got it 4 or 5 days early and almost an hour longer. Plus, Nitro watch-alongs of Vince Russo's run, Raw Attitude Era watch-alongs, plus more bonus content, and depending on the level, calls from Vince, shout-outs, by the way, we're going to start those again next week, as well as follows on Twitter, and so much more. Free merch. Just go over to patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. Support our show, because as you know, we are stuck outside the wrestling bubble, so ain't no one gonna do it but you. Thank you all. Patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. If you're a patron of Truth with Consequences, you're not hearing this commercial or any other commercial. Welcome to Truth with Consequences. Vince Russo, last week we had a pretty good show. We had a great take and outrage from you. What was your feedback from our episode last week on your plan to ruin WCW?
Yeah, no, bro, it was a good show. It was good going back and talking about all that stuff and really reflecting, on the time. I like going back and just kind of examining things. A lot of this stuff, bro, I have not looked at a second time. I have not really talked about. I definitely haven't talked about like in detail. So, to me, like that's the interesting part of it. Just being able to talk about, my job and like, pretty much what I did.
We started something because we had such great feedback about the show. We started a wrap-up show. We'll do it again this week. It's going to be Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Vince and I talking, taking questions about the previous episode and, of course, the next episode. And a lot of our conversation had to do with music last time, but hopefully we get a lot of people coming on Twitch. What is your Twitch channel called?
Vince Russo Live, and I'm pretty much on there every single day, guys. I'm always on Twitch. I'm always talking to the supporters of the brand and the supporters of this show. So check it out, Vince Russo Live on Twitch.
Yeah, if you want to see a man barely hanging on to life, just watch Twitch during SmackDown and see Vince Russo. This week we got to watch you asleep. You were asleep this week.
Yeah, no, I usually fall asleep like midway through SmackDown. I usually watch the first 2 hours of Raw. I can't take the third hour. And then by the time I get to Tuesday, usually about an hour into SmackDown, I fall asleep.
And of course, those of you are on our Patreon. We encourage you all to try out our Patreon. If you sign up right now, you have over 150 clips that you can listen to or watch or read. And of course, that will also sign you up for the following month, where you'll get all of our bonus content. We did a great episode, Vince. Probably our best bonus episode ever. We talked in depth about the relationship, the history, and the process of you and Ed Ferrara. You really enjoyed that, didn't you?
Oh, deeply. I never talk about that. Nobody asks. Bro, nobody asks about the interesting stuff. And why did that dynamic work when it just seems like since then there has not been a structure in creative that has been successful? Why did that work? And I think we were able to really pick that apart yesterday.
Yeah, it was really great. So check it out over at our patreon.com/RussoCoon, KOONTWC. Oh, by the way, happy birthday, Vince. Today is your birthday, the day that we're recording. Happy birthday. What do you wish for yourself this year?
What was that?
What are your birthday wishes for yourself this year?
Bro, my birthday wishes are, I want to be happy. I want people to be happy. I want people to laugh. I want people to enjoy themselves. Negativity is just really, really a downer for me. And I just have to learn how to deal with it better, bro. But I just want to freaking entertain, and I just want to have fun. That's all I want to do, bro. It's really that simple.
Well, we're going to try to entertain you this week because we have a great subject this week. Today we're going to talk about the Brawl for All that took place in 1998. Everybody remembers it. and also the much talked about relationship of Steve Dr. Death Williams and JR. First of all, when I say the words Brawl for All, what is the first thing that pops into your brain?
Bart Gunn.
Oh my God, right?
Oh my God, bro. Like, yes, Bart Gunn. Yes.
So let me go ahead and tell you what pops into some other people's brains about Brawl for All. Jim Ross has said it was a creative idea that went awry, and a lot of guys got hurt. At the end of the day, it didn't mean a damn thing. I can see Jim Ross saying that. Brawl for All was the stupidest thing Vince McMahon has ever done because he allowed it to happen in his company and on his television, says our good friend Jim Cornette. It was a debacle. In my opinion, it was a very ill-conceived concept, a very ill-conceived idea, and the end result was disastrous for the company. Bruce Pritchard on Something to Wrestle With. Would you disagree with any of those statements?
No, I wouldn't. It's not that I can't disagree with them because they're not, they're pulling Dave Meltzer's. They're not giving an explanation. They're making a statement and they're not giving an explanation. Like, what's the last thing Bruce says there?
The last thing that Bruce says was it was disastrous for the company.
On what grounds? Explain that to me. If you explain that to me, I might sit here and say, yeah, bro, it was disastrous to the company. But man, this happens a lot in wrestling, bro. People make blanket statements and they don't explain anything. So it's very difficult for me to agree or disagree with people when they don't explain their case.
I don't think it was disastrous for the company in the sense that it brought down the company, but on the face of it, it was something that all in all was a net loss for WWF. Wouldn't you agree with that?
In what way?
Well, in the way that people got injured, in the way that it hurt maybe some careers, maybe in the way that it kind of hurt perception a little bit at the time. You don't think it had a negative impact at all?
No, I mean, bro, people got hurt. I'm not going to deny that. People got hurt, but, bro, guys got hurt every day when they were wrestling. So, whether they got hurt in a boxing match or they got hurt in a wrestling ring, people are going to get hurt.
Well, they got hurt because it was real. They got hurt because there was a lot of untrained guys. There was a lot of guys who weren't used to that kind of thing. Was anybody concerned about injuries on the offset?
Bro, I think as far as us when we were booking it.
When you were planning it, did anybody go, hey, guys could get hurt here?
Nah, bro, I wasn't thinking about that. And I should have been, but I wasn't. I can't speak for Vince. I mean, Vince never said anything. I don't know if Vince was thinking it. I think Vince kind of liked it. I mean, that's how Vince is. Vince is a man's man, and Vince kind of likes that real competitiveness. That's why I think Vince was cool with it, because I think, Vince had that a warped sense of humor that even he wanted to see the way this thing would turn out. I think that's why Vince green-lighted it. I think if it were up to Vince, honestly, bro, he would have been in it.
Oh, yeah, he would have been in it. And
no doubt in my mind, Vince would have been the first one in it.
So let's get into it then. Brawl for All, a shoot fight tournament in the middle of a wrestling show. Where did it come from? How did it start? It was you, was it not?
100%. But it wasn't really me.
How so?
We were backstage one day, bro, and I'll never forget it. Three of us. Me, Kevin Kelly, and Bradshaw at that time. He wasn't JBL at that time. He was Bradshaw.
So conversation between you, Kevin Kelly, and JBL backstage. What happened out of that conversation?
Well, bro, JBL, was a braggart. In my opinion and in my view, he came across as a bully. He never bullied me. I never saw JBL bully anybody, but he came across as a bully. Big talker, big tough guy. And I remember standing there with Kevin Kelly, and I remember JBL making the comment that if all this shit were real, I could beat everybody's ass in the locker room. And bro, when he said that, I'm not out loud, but to myself, I'm like, no, bro. Like, no, you can't, you won't. And you know what, bro? I'll be honest with you. I'd kind of like to see that. And that's right there was where the seed was planted.
So the seed's planted in the sense that when he says, if this shit was real, and you go, well, I'd like to see it. But was there a little tiny part of you that created the Brawl for All to see Bradshaw get his ass kicked?
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. I got no problem saying that, bro. No doubt about it. Absolutely. Yes.
Well, your wish came true, Vince.
Yep.
It did happen. So let's talk about something that happened parallel to that. Parallel to that, I remember being at Raw. It was the Dude Love Raw that they had in Richmond, and there was a dark match, and they said, we have someone coming out now who has just signed with WWF. His name is Dr. Death Steve Williams. And I turned to my friend, I was like, holy shit, Dr. Death Steve Williams is here. And a lot has been made of the fact, of the belief that Brawl for All was set up for Dr. Death Steve Williams to succeed. Talk about Dr. Death coming in to WWF.
Okay, let me talk about this. First of all, let me say this. As tough as he was, and bro, this guy could have legitimately killed you with a stare. Okay, this Steve Williams was the real deal. But bro, like unlike Bradshaw, as tough as he was, what a gentleman, bro. Nicest guy in the world, soft-spoken, no ego. Nicest, one of the nicest human beings I ever met, but make no mistakes about it. This was the real deal. This was a world-class athlete. This guy could absolutely kill you if he chose to.
So what did you think, someone who you just said, the old school stuff, you said them a million times, who's more old school than Steve Williams? He's 37 years old. JR is obviously advocating for him. As the writer, what was your, command as far as working with Steve Williams? What did you think he was going to do?
Matt, I got to tell you, I'm surprised that JR carried himself in this manner, because JR should know better. And bro, JR has 10 times more the experience I have in wrestling and 10 times more the smarts I have in wrestling. That's what surprises me.
So considering all that, everything you just said, what is it that JR did that surprised you so much?
I would be 1 million, zillion, trillion, billion% behind bringing Dr. Death Steve Williams into the WWE. You ain't going to get no pushback from me, bro, at all. I'm in. I'm all in. But, bro, once he's in, now you've got JR pushing him down everybody's throat. And, bro, here's the confusing thing, Matt. You don't need to push Dr. Death Steve Williams down anybody's throat. He's Dr. Death Steve Williams. This isn't a 23-year-old unknown kid coming in. This is Dr. Death Steve Williams. We know the guy's resume. We know what the guy has done. We know what the guy brings to the table. Bro, you don't need to be Dr. Death Steve Williams' PR guy. There's no reason.
It seems like this Brawl for All, in a lot of ways, the tournament itself is a story of 3 wrestlers. One being Bart Gunn, of course. One being JBL. And the other being Dr. Death Steve Williams. You have JBL, who said, I can beat anybody's ass if I wanted to, in a real thing. JR was saying the same stuff about Steve Williams, right? He was saying, if this was a shoot...
let me give you the JR quote I'll never forget, bro, because he said it in front of quite a few people. But I'll never forget, bro, the Brawl for All, we're laying it out and everything like this. There's a bunch of people around. We were in the vicinity of a brick wall. And JR points at that brick wall, and he goes, "You see that brick wall right there? Dr. Death Steve Williams will go right through that brick wall. Dr. Death Steve Williams will beat anybody. Dr. Death Steve Williams is going to go through this brawl for all." Bro, when you start talking like that, I don't know, Matt, about human nature, and this is a bad thing about Vince Russo. Bro, when you start forcing somebody down my throat, shoving somebody down your throat, bro, there's this part of you now that says, you know what, bro, I kind of want to see this guy get his ass kicked.
And Vince McMahon is the exact same way, right?
Yeah, and bro, I think, I don't know what Bruce said. I don't listen to Bruce's show. I would have to believe Bruce thought the same thing. Did
JR hurt Dr. Death in a different way? Whereas when Jake the Snake Roberts comes into WBF, he gets a snake. When, Ron Simmons comes to WWF, he gets a gimmick. Steve Williams, his name is Dr. Death. He could have had a mask. He could have had, not worn it during the match, but he could have had a gimmick. He could have had some kind of thing to go with this Dr. Death thing. But because of Jim Ross, it was like, no, he's an amateur wrestler and a football player. Yeah. That's his gimmick. Did that hurt
Absolutely, him? Bro. Just Oklahoma. It's with JR, bro. And it's cool. I'm not knocking JR. I'm not. But it's always an Oklahoma thing. Mickey Mantle, Dr. Death Steve. Like it's, yes, bro. He was a great amateur wrestler from Oklahoma. I mean, it was a 100% Oklahoma thing, bro.
When Dr. Death was brought in, did you think it's just he is going to be one of these guys that's kind of brought to the top and fed to Stone Cold Steve Austin at some point?
Yeah, as a top? I've heard that, bro. That was never discussed. Never a thought in my mind. When he was coming in and I'm a writer, I'm like, bro, this guy is like 100% legitimate. Like, this guy is very, very, very believable. So you're going to be able to write him into situations where people are going to believe.
So you come up with the idea. You've got Dr. Death in one hand, who Jim Ross is saying, like, he's like Chuck Norris. He doesn't walk on water. He can swim through land. And then on the other hand, you've got JBL, who people kind of want to see shut up. At the same time, you have a lot of great, legitimate tough guys in the company at the time. How did you pitch this to Vince McMahon?
I told him the story. I told him. I said, bro, Vince, I said, I'm backstage. And I told him exactly what happened. And then I just said, Vince, I said, I'll be honest with you, man. I kind of like to see that. Bro, I know how Vince is. Vince is a man's man. And, bro, he's going to eat this up, especially JBL saying that. I knew Vince was going to feel the same way that I did. Bro, there was no pushback. There was no, guys may get hurt, blah, 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 blah. Nothing. I didn't have to sell it. It was basically, let's do it.
So, Bruce Pritchard on his Something to Wrestle With podcast said that, that you were using this kind of as the idea of how to introduce Dr. Death. He says, I think Russo was using this as a way to introduce Dr. Death, Steve Williams.
Not true.
JR was looking at it as there was nobody else who could win this thing with docking it. Jim is a passionate guy. I love Jim Ross to death, but we didn't know what we had. Would you agree that this was kind of a good way to kind of introduce Dr. Death to everybody?
I absolutely disagree with that. Not at all. Jim Ross created all that. The Brawl for All was not created around Dr. Death Steve Williams. The Brawl for All was not created with Steve Williams in mind. The Brawl for All was not created to highlight Steve Williams because, Matt, it was a shoot. And despite what JR was saying, we did not know what the outcome was going to be. So you certainly couldn't build it around somebody if they were going to get beat. So I appreciate Bruce, trying to lay out what was in my mind. That was not in my mind, bro. This was not built around any one individual because it was a shoot. And I had no idea who was going to win this thing.
So you go to Vince, he approves it, and you and Ed have the blank piece of yellow paper again, the yellow legal pad, and you guys start getting to work. How did you go about coming up with a list, and how did you go about approaching people for this?
No, bro, see, that's the thing, man. And I'm sure, listen, I know there's a whole other side to this story that I don't know about. Because at this point, Matt, like, I'm not involved. We're not coming up with names. We're not saying who we want to see in this thing. Obviously, I want to see JBL in this. But at that point, it kind of gets handed off to Bruce. And at that point, I believe Bruce and Vince came up with a pay structure. And I believe Bruce called the talent. And it was kind of, if you want to be in this, it's your choice. But here's the pay. You're going to make X amount of money. This is what it is. It's a shoot. And, if you want to be in it, just let me know and you're in it. That's my understanding of how it went down. Then when people agreed to be in it, then those names would come back to us.
So the names start coming back to you. There's some pretty obvious names to put in there. You have some legit world champions in shoot fighting in the company. You have Ken Shamrock, who decided not to do it. Dan Severn decided to leave after the first match. So you didn't see any problem with using those kind of guys who had been training in that area for a long time?
I didn't, bro, because then you have, let's look at who else you have. You got Mark Mero, who's a legit Gold Gloves champion. Bro, you got freaking the Godfather, who knocks people out at bars every night as a bouncer. You know what I mean? Like they all brought something different to the table. So, no, I mean, me personally, I didn't think there should be any restrictions to this thing.
Bruce Pritchard says, I explained to him why I thought it was such a bad idea, that in the middle of an entertainment program where everything is scripted, you want to have a legit fight in the middle of it. Explain to me how you're going to tell everyone and everything we're doing with the big stars. Everyone we're telling you are badasses and tough guys. That's all bullshit. But this stuff right here, this is real. He says, I don't know how you do that in the context of an entertainment show where everything is scripted. What about that, Vince? What about the fact that you're putting this thing in the middle of a Raw saying, okay, everything else is bullshit, but this is real?
But how are we doing that? I mean, how are we doing that? Bro, you mean to tell me every single person that watched Monday Night Raw didn't believe Austin and didn't believe Rock and didn't believe Taker and didn't believe, DX were assholes? Bro, I was writing that entire show like it was real and like it was a shoot. And people believed in those characters. So that's in Bruce's mind. Oh, everything else is phony, but this is real. No, bro, I'm the writer of the show. We're presenting everything like it's real. That's the presentation of this show.
We know that Undertaker's not dead. We know that wrestling is scripted. We go along on this journey. We know that Steve Austin works for Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon signs his checks. We know. Yeah. We know that Mick Foley is a family man.
Okay, so Matt, when DX drove up to WCW's building, that was all fake, huh, bro? Fake.
Well, you weren't actually going to blow them up.
That was all scripted. Eric Bischoff knew we were coming. That was all scripted. That was all fake, right, bro?
Vince, something I know that we have in common, because we both record these podcasts at weird hours, is you and I both have trouble sleeping at night. How did you sleep last night?
Well, Matt, it's not only the trouble sleeping, it's when we finally, that head hits the pillow, bro, and we're laid out, and now it's time to go nighty-night. How fast do we fall asleep? Matt, it's a new year, 2019. I think people forget something. Everybody in the new year, they want to exercise, they want to diet, but what's the third most important thing? Sleep and getting your rest, bro. And how do you do that, Matt, if you don't have the right mattress?
Absolutely. Sleep's important, and the quality of your sleep affects the quality of your daily life, And if you're struggling to get a good night's sleep, you got to try a Purple mattress. And the founders of Purple Mattress are two brothers who have been developing cushioning technology for 30 years on things like medical beds and wheelchairs.
Well, Matt, listen, I know you're about to say you don't have to be a rocket scientist to develop a mattress, but you're wrong, Matt Kuhn, because the Purple mattress will probably feel different than anything you've ever experienced because it uses the brand new material that was developed by an actual rocket scientist like me when I used to write Raw and SmackDown. I was a rocket scientist. It was not like the memory foam that so many people are used to. This is a different animal, Matt.
Yeah, I can't do that memory foam, and everybody's got a mattress. It's something we all need, but how's this one different? Is that the Purple mattress will probably feel different from anything that you've ever experienced. Its material feels very unique because it's firm and soft at the same time, just like you, Vince. So it keeps everything supported while still feeling really comfortable. Plus, it's breathable, so it sleeps cool.
Yeah, this is the one, Matt. It's the beginning of the year for everybody, man. If you're dieting, great. If you're working out, great. But, bro, Stevie Richards taught me when you rest the body, it rejuvenates. That's the most important time. You need a mattress. You got to go to sleep, bro. And Purple mattress is the mattress for you.
And you know, when we're going to advertise and we're going to get a great sponsor like Purple mattress, you're not going to have any risk. There's a 100-night risk-free trial for listeners with Truth with Consequences. If you're not fully satisfied, you can actually return your mattress for a full refund. It's backed by a 10-year warranty and free shipping and returns.
And Matt, the most important thing here, free in-home setup, bro. They will also remove the old mattress. That's a headache to a lot of people, bro. They'll do the work for you.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're going to love Purple. And right now, our listeners will get a free Purple pillow with the purchase of a mattress. And that's in addition to the great gifts they're offering site-wide. Just text, what do we text?
We text BRO, B-R-O, to 474747.
The only way to get the free pillow is to text BRO to 474747. That's BRO to 474747. Message and data rates may apply. Purple mattress.
That was all scripted. That was all fake, right, bro?
I mean, as far as the Brawl for All, you would watch these matches for 2 seconds and know this is actually a real fight. Like, this is a real fight. Everything else we do, where we do Irish whips and we do sunset flips, that shit looks like bullshit because now we're having real fights where people are just clinching and swinging on each other.
Man, bro, obviously you haven't watched some of those shows from the Attitude Era. You don't, bro, you're not getting that excited if you think that shit is fake.
So you're saying,
Henry, don't huff. Hey, Henry, don't huff and puff with me over there, Henry.
What's your middle name?
That's Bruce Pritchard. Oh, everything is a work and this is real. Bro, we didn't write the television like it was a work, Bruce. Driving up to WCW, bro, wasn't a work. Bro, Steve Austin made you want to believe him, bro. Shawn Michaels, I lost my smile. That's a work, bro? That was a work? I lost my smile?
You wrote the reality into the show, but it's a lot like if you watch The Sopranos. We don't watch The Sopranos thinking this is fake as we're watching it, but it's not like in the middle of the damn show, James Gandolfini and frickin' Steven Van Zandt are going to get in a real fist fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, it stuck out like a sore thumb.
Matt, like, even if that's the case, well, like, okay, like, what's the point? So what? Even if that's the case, so what?
So what?
Well, I don't understand. What? So what? What is that?
Holy
what does that do? If all of a sudden, bro, you've got Raw this week. Okay, we have our Raw presentation. All of a sudden, something goes down, and one wrestler is really hot in another, and they really want to fight. Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, they really want to fight. Okay, so all right, they go out there and they fight. I don't understand what effect does it have on anything? Bruce is going to talk about presenting something real and fake when he's got a guy with a freaking buffalo head getting in the ring? Like, you really want to talk about this, bro? You got a plumber wrestling. You got a hockey player wrestling. I mean, that's where Bruce comes from. That's not where I come from. I come from very believable characters, and that's how the show was presented.
I'm trying really hard, Vin.
That wasn't even a thought in my freaking mind,
obviously,
bro.
I mean, obviously, it
all right.
wasn't.
If you're seeing a freaking Buffalo wrestle, and then you're seeing two guys come out and fight for real, yes, I understand that. That was not the show at the time.
Was Mantar a buffalo?
I think so, wasn't he?
I don't know. No one really knows.
He was a bison. He had a big bison head, I think.
Well, he did. But because this is a thing that I think a lot of people think is that when you have a real fight in the context of a wrestling show, it makes the wrestling look less than. But for you, what you're saying is since your desire was to make everything look real, in an ideal world, a real fight, a real tournament wouldn't pop out like Bruce Pritchard thinks.
Bro, the exact opposite happened. They thought the fights were a work. Okay, bro, they were booing the Brawl for Alls out of the building because the people were saying, okay, this is a work. Why are they working boxing matches? I was in the building for those early shows. They were booing it out of the building because they thought it was a work. Then all of a sudden, bro, when Bart Gunn starts knocking guys' eyes, when guys' eyes are rolling into the back of their heads, that's when people said, holy shit, they're fighting for real. It had no effect on anything else that we were doing. That's that typical wrestling bullshit, bro. Vince McMahon didn't seem to be too concerned about that.
Do you think that you get, and we've talked about this before, do you think you get too much of a bad rap because you came up with this idea, but once the idea leaves your desk, it's no longer your responsibility?
Well, I mean, it's not my company, but I don't give a shit if I get a bad rap about it, bro. I thought it was a good idea. I thought it was an entertaining idea. I did not think about guys getting hurt. So I was wrong in that aspect. Some guys made a lot of money. Bart Gunn went and made a lot of money. He had a career in freaking Japan. That may have never happened for him. Dr. Death suffered a very serious, probably career-ending injury. Did I foresee any of that? No. And that's where I made a mistake. But I'm not going to say, well, bro, like that was just my idea. It was up to Vince McMahon. I'm not going to say that, bro. But I take 1,000% responsibility for putting that on the table.
Meltzer reports July 13th, 1998 in The Observer. The idea behind the tournament is to add a new dimension to television that would get people talking and theoretically draw ratings. Well, that sounds right?
Right.
And perhaps to get wrestlers who aren't over a chance to make their own break with a strong showing. So far, so good. Nobody was forced to enter, and the wrestlers are getting paid extra, supposedly with $5,000 going to the winners of every match, $2,500 to the losers, and a $75,000 bonus going to the winner of the tournament final, according to another official. None of the top stars were invited to enter because they would have something to lose by being exposed. Is that why none of the top stars were invited, do you think?
No, I would think, bro, because they were in angles. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that would have been muddying the waters, bro, if all of a sudden they're in this hot angle and then they're in this brawl for. I don't think that would have made any sense.
We've talked about how Mark Mero had a Golden Gloves boxing background, as well as an Olympic gold medal ability to draw females into his life. Steve Blackman, let's talk about Steve Blackman. Steve Blackman's a martial artist. He hadn't really gotten a push yet, but he was being kind of, promoted as the Lethal Weapon because he looked like Jeff Speakman, I think, who was a guy who did this movie, The Lethal Weapon. Talk about Steve Blackman a little bit and why you think he could have benefited from being in this tournament.
Yeah, no, bro. He was very, very Ming-like, bro. The Steve Blackman stories you would hear. I mean, this guy was legitimately like the real deal. He was trained he was dangerous, bro. Like, this guy was legitimately the real deal.
Why didn't he do more? Is it as obvious as we can just see, where he was just too, he just wasn't an entertainer.
Like Severn, very, very much like Severn. That's why Shamrock was successful. That was the difference. You believe Shamrock. He made that transition over to the entertainment aspect of wrestling, like he'd been doing it his whole life. Guys like Blackman and Severn, I like Dan Severn's a gentleman, bro, but they didn't get that part of it.
We also have Mark Canterbury. He seemed like someone who would be in it because he didn't have a lot going on. A legitimate tough guy. Talk a little bit about Mark Canterbury. Yeah,
no, bro, big old country boy, man. Guys like that sometimes don't know their own strength. And another, bro, that's a guy that never gets talked about. Sweetheart of a guy, man. But country strong, bro, like the real deal. Could F you up. Very close with Taker. They were kind of like in that group. He was a big old boy that could do some damage, bro.
And he was, of course, Henry O. Godwin, Hog. Yeah. That doesn't sound like something you came up with, Hog.
No, unfortunately not.
Let's talk a little bit about this guy, Brakkus. Brakkus is not someone who wrestled maybe at all, once or twice ever for WWE. He was a developmental guy, looked like $1 million, sent down to ECW for some development. Tell us what you know of Brakkus.
Yeah, no, bro. The guy was a freak. The guy was a freak. The body on this guy was unbelievable. But see, bro, that's the thing now. You start looking at these guys and you could almost start seeing weaknesses. Like Brakkus was such a bodybuilder, bro, that, it's going to be difficult for this guy to punch. He's so big and he's so tight. He's going to probably, like Mark Mero would probably carve this guy up and spit him out. But Brakkus could have caught him one time. Mark Canterbury, tough guy, but slow, big. He's going to get blowed up easy. You can start seeing like strengths and weaknesses of these guys going in, which kind of gave you a pretty good idea of who was going to do well.
Someone we haven't talked a lot about, but to me seems like, he would be someone who might do well. I can't think of a glaring weakness. Savio Vega.
Oh no, bro, no doubt, bro. There are some guys that I think really wanted to do this, bro. Savio comes to mind, bro. I can imagine the Savio Vega stories growing up. I can imagine the fights that Savio Vega will. I can imagine probably the most street smart guy I know, like him and Conan, bro. Another guy, Droz. Droz is an athlete, bro. I'm sure Droz got off on this. Like Droz wanted to get in there and see what he could do. Now, some guys, big question mark to me. Like, I don't know why Hawk would get anything like this. I don't know. He didn't need the money. I don't know why Hawk would have thrown his hat in the ring,
It's almost like a dream match from like 10 years before when you have guys like Hawk and Dr. Death in it. Hawk is a guy who 10 years before, if there was a tournament and you found out Hawk was in it, you probably wouldn't be in that tournament, right?
Right. But at this point in his career, I would love to know, I really would love to understand his thought process for getting in this thing. I would have never expected him to be a part of it.
Do you think part of it was he got in it because he knew he could win?
If I had a guess, bro, I would think his motivation was to see how tough he still really was. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, bro? I would think like that's his motivation. Like, I know who I used to be. How tough am I now?
Let's talk about a guy who is synonymous with being tough, Mr. Bob Holly. He's talked a lot about it. He wasn't known for that now. He was just fresh out of the new Midnight Express with his tag team partner, Bart Gunn. Talk about how where you thought Bob Holly's place was in this.
Yeah, no, we knew how tough Bob Holly was. Behind the scenes, we knew Bob Holly was tough. And I guarantee you, Bob Holly was another one, but, sign me up first. I guarantee you Bob Holly wanted to be in this tournament.
The most active wrestler, the most relevant wrestler today in the entire tournament, who do you think that is? There's a guy in this tournament who was just signed to a good contract by Ring of Honor.
Oh, Pierre.
PCO, Quebecer
Yeah,
Pierre.
he's tough dude, bro. Tough dude. I guarantee you he wanted to be in it.
He's got one eye.
Yeah.
How would you put a guy in a fight with one eye?
I have no idea. Ask him, bro.
Of course, the Godfather you talked about, legit tough guy. He's a bouncer. Yeah. Dan Severn, of course, a former UFC champion. One of your old buddies as well. How close were you at the time with 8 Ball?
Yeah, no, bro, we were pretty tight, man. And these guys were legit, man. These guys, again, bro, if this took place in the arena of a bar fight, and you could pick up anything you wanted to use, he probably would have won this thing.
I think Meltzer was saying earlier, it is an opportunity for some guys who aren't being used. That seems to be the case with including Scorpio. Was Scorpio a guy that people thought was tough in the back?
Yeah. Yep. That's fair to say. Yep.
So after these people are selected, the story goes that everybody was concerned it was going to be worked. A lot of people were going to be concerned it was going to be worked for Steve Williams to have a good, a good bracket to go through. And it was done randomly. The selections were done randomly, unlike any other thing in the history of wrestling, drawn out of a hat. And because there's no way that the wrestlers would be very suspicious of it being worked, right?
Right.
With that set up, you have the brackets, you have the Brawl for All. How much ownership did you have at the time? It's not set up. You're not writing anything. This was an idea as you're watching it take place now. Are you kind of thinking, oh shit, this was my idea? Or are you just worried about other things?
No, I'm not, bro. I think these guys wanted to be in it. I think these guys wanted to be in it. Bro, listen, man, wrestling is a bullshit business and everybody talks a good game and everybody's a tough guy and this, that, and the other thing. Bro, I think this was a tournament that represented, okay, like, let's really see what you got now. Forget the bullshit, forget the talking, forget the I could beat everybody up if this were real. Let's really see what you've got now. I believe every single guy in the tournament looked at it that way. Bro, I know for a fact I was very close to Mark Mero. In Mark Mero's mind, this is what was going to give him the respect. For all the shit he was taking and, because his wife was getting over, they were taking it out on him. For all the shit Mero was taking, this was a blessing to him. And he thought, you know what, bro, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to knock these guys on their asses and their days of disrespecting me are going to be over. I think Droz, the new kid on the block. I'm going to make a name for myself right here. I think Bart Gunn. Nobody thinks I'm going to freaking win this thing. Bro, I think they all had a motivation. I think they all took this thing very, very seriously. And I think more than anything, Vince McMahon was probably the biggest mark for this. Bro, there was never a creative discussion. I'm not going to talk for Bruce. I don't know conversations Bruce and Vince had, just like Bruce doesn't know conversations Vince and The Rock had. I don't know conversations JR and Vince had. I can tell you from a creative perspective with Vince, we never, ever, ever discussed this thing being worked at all. Me and Vince, there was never the slightest discussion. I think Vince wanted to see who was the most legit tough guy.
The brackets are set, and the first matches take place June 29th in Cleveland at a taping of Raw to air July 6th. And they also had some matches on June 30th as well. Even Meltzer goes on to say the tournament, which appears on paper to be a forum to get Steve Williams over as a contender for Steve Austin. This is, like you said, it's not reality for you as a creative person.
Bro, I guarantee you, bro, the more JR talked up Steve Williams, bro, the more Vince McMahon wanted to see Steve Williams get put on his ass. That is not true at all. At all, bro.
But in the paranoid world of professional wrestling, Meltzer has his sources. They're probably wrestlers, might be people that don't like you, like Cornette or whatever. But that was the perception. You can see why people would have that perception. And was that the perception among the wrestlers at the time where, oh, this is for Dr. Death?
I don't think so, bro. I don't think so, because they weren't going over their matches. You know what I mean, bro? They knew the shit was real. They were not going over their matches, bro. Now, bro, I don't know. Maybe when they talked beforehand, bro, I don't know. Maybe they discussed like, bro, if you really hurt me, you know what I'm saying? I'll let you know. Or I don't know. I wasn't privy to their discussions, bro, prior to going out there. But, bro, none of this was worked. None of it.
We had the first matchups. The first matchups were Steve Blackman against Mark Mero, which Mark Mero won, even though maybe technically Blackman did do well with the takedowns and all that. The whole scoring system, the judges, the scoring system kept changing. That whole thing was kind of a clusterfuck, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember any talks about how it would be scored or anything like that?
Oh, God, bro. Like, bro, I know they started really taking it seriously. Like, wasn't Danny Hodge brought in? Like, bro, they were all marks for Danny Hodge.
They brought Danny Hodge, Victor Quinones, and all these people.
Yeah, the Danny Hodge, they were also freaking Jerry Briscoe was such a Danny Hodge mark, and JR, they love this guy, bro. But, bro, the scoring and all that, people were starting to take it seriously.
With the Mark Canterbury Bradshaw match, Bradshaw moves ahead, so your dream yet has not come true. Savio Vega, as you predicted, took apart Brakkus in his Raw debut, Meltzer says, which is basically an indication WWF had given up on him.
Was that
true, do you think?
Absolutely not.
Explain. Why do you
say? If Brakkus would have went far in this tournament, he could have made himself.
When these matchups are taking place, are you watching them? Are you watching?
Oh, bro, it's. Let me tell you something.
Is it a sellout at the curtain?
Standing room only, bro. You had a jockey for position to be able to see what was going on.
Back then, they had just the little tiny monitors, right? They had the little tiny ones. So you're all crowded around there. Are people cheering and rooting and rooting against, rooting for people?
Not really, bro, but there were pops on the finish.
What was the talk amongst all the wrestlers in the back when you're watching this? What did people think would happen? What did people want to happen?
Well, bro, I think JR had painted Dr. Death into a corner. I think everybody wanted to see him get beat. Unfortunately. And I feel bad for him, bro, because he was not shooting his mouth off. He was not saying a word. He was not being braggadocious. Now, I'm sure, bro, he was very, very, very confident. But, bro, Steve Williams was not saying a word. It was all freaking JR. So I think by the time we got there, bro, everybody wanted to see this guy get put on his ass. And it had nothing to do with him because he was the sweetest guy in the world.
And of course, the Hawk Drozdov match ended in a tie. With Meltzer goes to say that Hawk, who had boxed a little before ever getting into pro wrestling, but is now over 40 and had his share of health problems, seemed fearless and confident going into the ring. It appeared almost immediately that Drozdov had never been trained for fighting because he had no clue what to do. However, Hawk's punches with the big gloves looked terrible, and both men blew up quickly. Drozdov bloodied up Hawk's nose and nearly knocked him down in winning the second round. The third round, which was the decider, saw both men gassed out to the point where they each spit out their mouthpiece and neither landed anything in that round that would have given them the decision. Is this kind of the point where you're thinking, wow, this is doing more harm than good?
As far as what?
You've got Hawk, one of the greatest tough guys. You know, he's got this mystique about him. He's Hawk. He's fucking Hawk of the Road Warriors against this young up-and-comer, Drozdov, and they get in this cluster of a match where nothing really happens. They both get gassed out. Neither one can breathe. They're throwing sloppy punches. How does this help either one of them?
Seth Rollins was in this tournament? Bro, you just described the Seth Rollins match to me. I swear to God. But anyway, so what's the question, bro?
How doesn't this hurt both guys in there?
No.
You say so many times you got to protect guys. You're not. Yeah. I mean, I'm not talking about safety because the safety is evident. But as far as protecting them, Hawk's legacy and Drozdov's future in this match, they both looked ridiculous. Do you have like a...
Bro, let me tell you something. I'm a writer. Okay, bro. I promise you, one bad match is not going to kill somebody's career if I'm writing. I promise you, bro. I will know how to make them look good the following week, and they'll forget all about the Brawl for All. So if I'm writing, bro, and you have a bad match, it's not going to kill your career.
Watching it as a fan at home, when I watched Bart Gunn versus Bob Holly, that's when I kind of knew it was on because these guys were tag team partners. Yeah. And when Bart Gunn first hits Bob Holly, you can see a look on Bob Holly's face like, oh shit, this is real.
No, bro. and Matt, that might have been it because there was a turning point. There was a turning point, bro, where this was getting booed out of the building because people thought it was a work. And then, bro, there was that holy shit moment. These guys are not working. Maybe that was it. And, bro, from that moment on, the people were into it.
You think people like this and were into it? The reactions were mixed at first. You said it was booed, but the beginning of Bart Gunn. Now, this is the story of the Brawl for All in a lot of ways, besides, you know, all the injuries and stuff. Bart Gunn, would anybody... I've heard that there were people that did say that kid is going to win this. That kid right there. Was there something about Bart Gunn that you thought he could win it, or was he just another guy put in that card?
Bro, I don't think anybody was looking at Bart Gunn to win this thing. I really don't, except Bart Gunn. I honestly think, like, looking back now, there wasn't a doubt in his mind that he was not going to win this thing. I don't think there was anybody else that picked Bart Gunn to win this thing. Yeah.
Godfather against Dan Severn. Dan Severn won on points because that's what you do when you're a trained fighter, and decided to leave the tournament after winning. Any insight into that? Why did Severn decide to leave? It says that
I don't know. See, bro, that was all that would have been all at the talent relations level, bro. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get involved in any of that. I would have just been told, okay, the guy left, so however we got to adjust the tournament, somebody gets a bye. I don't know what happened there, bro.
In the first round, also, Steve Williams takes on Quebecer Pierre. Was this one of those things where people were watching and rooting for Dr. Death to get beaten?
Yeah.
And, of course, Steve Williams wins. And then the last match, 8-Ball versus Scorpio, with Scorpio winning. After the first round matches, you had some injuries. You had some adjustments you had to make. Were you given any kind of input as to the changing the scoring or how to make it more entertaining, or any blowback like this shit ain't working? What was the feedback after the first
There was never. I mean, I could tell you on the level of me and Vince, bro, there was never a discussion of putting a bullet in this thing. Never. I mean, from the minute it started, we were going to see this through. There was never a discussion of this is not working, pull the plug.
At the time, were you as focused on ratings at that time as you always were?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
In all of the head-to-heads, Brawl for All beat WCW in all the head-to-heads except once going up against Hogan versus Hall. when you're looking at a thing like this, you said you still take ownership of it, even though you're not involved creatively. When you're beating them in the ratings with your idea, is that a source of pride for you?
No, I mean, not really, bro. I mean, it's not. It's not. I just want to get the highest ratings we can. I mean, again, I always give credit to Disco, and Disco said, bro, when you're looking at a wrestling show, you should be looking at, we've got 2 hours of primetime television. What do we do in those 2 hours to get as many people as possible to watch? I think it's that simple, bro.
There were a couple injuries. Vega has a pinched nerve in his neck, but still continues in the brawl. With the Drozdov and Hawk match, it went to a draw, but Hawk got a broken nose during the match. That's not too much worse than kind of a wrestling match, right? That's not anything that...
Yeah, I mean, but both of those things, I mean, could have happened in a wrestling match. I wouldn't, those guys wouldn't have missed any time over that.
So, Mark Mero faces Bradshaw. You get one more chance to see Bradshaw get his comeuppance, but you don't get it. Bradshaw beats Mero. Where are you at this point? Are you just
no, bro. The thing I remember about this was how freaking hot Mero was. He thought he got robbed, and they screwed him, and he thought he won. I mean, bro, now you're starting to see how seriously these guys are taking this shit. Mero was hot. And when you go back and look at it, bro, did Mero get screwed because of the baggage that was already there? Yeah, bro, maybe he did.
Well, they kept messing with the scoring system, and also sometimes people weren't given takedowns, sometimes people weren't scored for points. Let's talk a little bit more about Mero. He's pissed off. What did he say? What did you hear him say?
Oh, he just went in the back and cut a hellacious promo of, they screwed him. Sable was hot, bro. I mean, he was legitimately hot, believing without a shadow of a doubt he won that match. He did not like Bradshaw to begin with, for all the reasons I stated. And, beating Bradshaw really meant a lot to him because, bro, Bradshaw was, he was probably one of the victims. And, that was probably his chance to shut up Bradshaw once and for all. And he felt he did, but he felt he ultimately got screwed.
Is that a good look, a bad look, or does anybody care?
I think people knew he got screwed. I really do, bro. I think people knew he got screwed and he should have won that match.
So who's in Bradshaw's corner? JR is Steve Williams' guy, right? Why would someone think that Bradshaw was someone's favorite son? It didn't look like that on screen, why would Mero think people would have it in for him or for Bradshaw?
Because, bro, Bradshaw was kind of one of the good old boys, bro. And, again, bro, Mero, he had so much heat because his wife got over. God forbid a female get over in the business. And all the heat went directly to Mero. JBL, kind of, bro, where's JBL from?
Texas.
Where's Bruce from?
They're friends. They're good friends.
Well, that's okay. Well, it is what it is, bro. It is what it is.
But Mero at the time, even though he wasn't being pushed huge at the time, was in a better place than Bradshaw on the card, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Was at that time. Yeah.
So we go on to, and so Mero's pissed off. Bradshaw is even more emboldened. He's this tough guy. Savio Vega takes on Droz. Droz beats him. And now we have the match that everybody talks about. Dr. Death Steve Williams against the young upstart Bart Gunn. It is clear from the beginning, from a couple punches right away, that Steve Williams is in trouble. And he definitely suffered an injury. Talk about that match and the excitement that took place behind the scenes and your thoughts and JR's reaction. That must have been something.
Bro, I hate to laugh. This is standing room only, bro. This is standing room only.
And meanwhile, it's like no one like Bart Gunn's not a big presence backstage, but he's like this underdog that people suddenly are cheering for, right?
Yeah, but I think it could have been anybody. No, I got to be honest with you. I think it could have been anybody. I'm telling you, I think it could have been anybody. But when Bart started taking it to Dr. Death, bro, oh my God. I mean, the boys in the back were going absolutely nuts. And I felt so bad for Doc because he did not bring it upon himself. If he was being braggadocious, I would say it. He wasn't saying a word, man. I felt so freaking bad for the guy. And then, bro, what made it worse, bro, is freaking JR made excuses for him. And that made it even worse. Like, bro, there's got to come a point where, like, you just got to stop talking. But he made excuses for him after the loss.
What is JR defeated at all? What is the whole scene?
No, he's blaming it all on the injuries. He bro, I think it was pretty serious. I think he like ripped his quad or something. But no, JR's blaming it all on Dr. Death getting hurt.
Meltzer says at the end of the match, Gunn pummeled him and connected with a left hook that apparently dislocated Williams' jaw and put him down. It would seem at this point they would get behind Bart Gunn as kind of the story to help push this thing, but had they lost faith a little bit? Did they just want to get this over with?
Bro, because you couldn't get behind anybody because you didn't know the outcome.
Right.
So how can you really get behind anybody? We didn't know who was going to win this thing, so there was nobody to push.
Even in this episode of The Observer, Meltzer keeps reporting that it was set up for Williams to win. It was set up for Williams to face Austin. That perception is still there to this day.
Bullshit, bro. Bro, can I tell you something?
Please.
That's freaking, bro. If I had to guess, and a very educated guess, JR to Jim Cornette to Dave Meltzer. There is zero discussion creatively at all concerning any of that.
They talk about a little bit about the injuries at this point. Meltzer reports that the problem isn't the matches, the problem's the injuries. WWF is a hazardous enough job, taking bumps 200 nights a year and trying to maintain a look. The injury rate is already alarming in 1997, but the Brawl for All greatly magnifies that. Thus far, we've seen Savio Vega suffer an injury to his 7th cervical vertebrae, Hawk broken nose, several more minor scrapes like bloody noses. Steve Blackman suffer a ruptured tendon in his knee in training for it. And the worst of injuries of all to Williams, who was hospitalized most of the night after his match with Gunn in Anaheim with a torn hamstring and torn buttocks, which wound up with him on crutches and will keep him out anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, right during a period where the plans were to start giving him a mega push. The reality of the Bart Gunn match wasn't so much that Gunn knocked him out, which he did, but that Williams suffered his most serious injuries in the second round of the takedown that Gunn gave him. So was there concern or blowback about the injuries at this point when Steve Williams is just
there were no
apart?
plans from like that. There weren't. Yes, there would have been. There would have been blowback and concern if he was penciled in to go against Austin. He wasn't, bro. So the injury did not affect the creative in any way, shape, or form, bro. And I mean, and like, bro, like seriously, like, my God, bro, we saw Vince McMahon get in the ring and rip both his quads. I would love to see how the injury occurred. I mean, was it a freak injury? I mean, I would actually love to go back and see where he got hurt. I mean, is it something you could really blame on a boxing match? A guy ripped his buttocks?
Meltzer asked the question, are 4 wrestlers being injured to varying degrees an acceptable number out of 10 matches? That's not a decision that's easy to make, but is probably the key point that has to be considered when this is over. So at the
I cannot believe Meltzer is harping on the injuries with the shit he's into at New Japan. Like, are you effing kidding me, bro? Okay, are you kidding me, bro? What those guys do to each other at New Japan, the kicks to the head when the guys aren't looking at them, two guys just freaking, what one guy, they don't even talk about the guy that broke his neck or whatever. They don't even talk about him anymore. We don't even know what happened to that guy. The guy who just got injured seriously against Ospreay. I just can't believe that this guy is being so hypocritical, bro.
We had Bradshaw against Drozdov, which Bradshaw wins. Bart Gunn versus the Godfather, which Bart Gunn again wins. And people are starting to get, despite what Meltzer's saying, they're starting to get a little bit excited about Bart Gunn at this point, right? Like, what about
Bro,
you guys? Are you
I never, to this day, Matt, I've seen the Tysons, I've seen the Ronda Rouseys, I've seen the George Foremans, I've seen the Conor McGregors. I never saw anybody get hit that hard. I saw the Godfather's eyes roll to the back of his head. That is a big, freaking, mean, nasty, strong, dangerous man. I've never to this day seen anybody get hit that hard.
And in the back, there's no heat on Bart for beating up these guys?
No, bro, it's down to the Tim the Toolman Taylor, bro. This is men, like this is what it's down to now. Vince McMahon is eating this up. This is men versus men, two gladiators going to cage and one. This is the level we're at now. Like, bro, they are all into this at that freaking level now. So they're shocked. I could tell you that they are absolutely shocked by what they saw.
Bruce has said that it was an opportunity for some people to see other wrestlers in a different light or give them an opportunity. As someone in creative, you love doing reality. You love blowing up real characteristics and making them the foundation of their character. Are you seeing Bart Gunn in a different way at this point?
Oh yeah, bro. I'm seeing something I never saw before, or I never dreamed of, or I never imagined before, bro.
And so, how are you seeing Bart Gunn at this point?
Well, bro, see, that's the funny thing now. We're still wrestling. And the one thing Bart Gunn always lacked, bro, he didn't lack the body. He didn't lack the work. The one thing he always lacked was the promo. And, okay, bro, you're showing us now you're a badass. There's no question about that. Nobody ever doubted that, bro. But when you got to go back to the wrestling world, you still got to be an entertainer. And if you didn't have that part of it before, I don't know, bro, maybe the confidence in this thing will give you that confidence you lack now, but you still got to be an entertainer once the gloves are off.
We're heading towards the final, which is Bradshaw versus Bart Gunn, the guy that everybody wants to see shut up and embarrassed, versus this young upstart who's now a favorite in the back and people are popping even when he's beating popular people like the Godfather. What is the talk? What is the hype? What does Vince McMahon think about it at this point?
Bro, like nobody's saying anything. Like nobody, I think Bradshaw's afraid. He's got everything to lose. Bart's got nothing to lose. Bradshaw's got everything to lose. Bart Gunn's not saying a word backstage, bro. Nothing, not bragging, not saying a word. I think that actually hurt Bradshaw going in because he had everything to lose. And I think he was afraid. I'm this big tough guy. This is happening because of me. Like if I get dropped, it's going to be embarrassing. I really think mentally, bro, that probably could have affected him.
And we have the final of Bradshaw and Bart Gunn. You, Vince Russo, personally, You, in your heart, you probably had it all on the line. You're probably thinking, God damn it, this guy, he's going to win it. This son of a bitch is going to win it.
No.
You had faith. You believed.
I had more than faith, bro. Like, after I saw Bart hit the Godfather, the Godfather was tougher than JBL. Okay, no doubt about it. When I saw what he did to the Godfather, I knew he was going to kill JBL. I mean, there wasn't a doubt in my mind, bro.
So we have the match, and in the match, Bart Gunn knocks out Bradshaw in 42 seconds in the Brawl for All Championship match, received the $75,000. Where were you when Bart Gunn beats Bradshaw?
I'm at the monitor with everybody else.
Was it the biggest pop of all time?
For me, or in general?
In general.
Well, bro, the boys had to be careful. You know what I mean, bro? Because if they're friends with JBL, they don't want somebody else telling JBL so and so was popping when you got knocked out. So the boys have to be a little bit more conservative, but I think they could not help but to put over the impressiveness of Bart Gunn. It was like, holy shit. It was like that kind of a thing. It was no disrespect to JBL. Nobody was laughing at JBL. It was just like, holy shit.
In your mind, did it knock him down a peg, which is what you wanted?
Oh, it had to. It had to, bro. It definitely had to. Yep.
Once Bart Gunn wins, do you think you've got a star on your hands? Did you talk to Vince, and Vince said we had a star? This guy, we need to do some stuff with him.
Bro, not a star, because he still lacked the other side of it. Did he earn the opportunity for us to pay attention and do something with him? Absolutely, but he still had to round out his game a little bit.
Cornette says that the Brawl for All ruined Dr. Death's WWF career. Would you disagree?
Yeah. Where was Dr. Death going to go with Steve Austin there? You got to understand, bro, this isn't Dr. Death in his prime. We're not talking about that Dr. Death. You're talking about a 38-year-old Dr. Death that's I mean, he's past his prime, bro. It's later on in his career. He's not going to be a top guy. He's not going to be a main event guy, not with that roster. Could he have had a program with Austin? Yeah. He wasn't going to beat Austin. That probably would have been the highlight of his WWE career, would have been in a program with Austin, but not a program that the guy was going to go over in and further his career. He had already accomplished great things in his career. He was at that spot in his career at this point to get other people over. Now, if we didn't have the talent on the roster that we did, and we needed a Dr. Death, yeah, bro, it would have been different. I mean, a Dr. Death at 37 years old on today's roster, bro, you could put him right up there with Brock Lesnar. But when you look at the roster we had back then, the height would have been a program with Austin, and Austin would have went over. That would have been the extent of it.
Bob Holly says that it did hurt Steve Williams in the sense it throws all his credibility out the window in a sense. It didn't, but it did. You know what I'm saying? It's like, here's this guy supposed to be one of the baddest men on the planet, and then Bart knocks him out. It almost wipes out his whole credibility, even though anybody can get knocked out in a given second. And that's why you don't want to pit the boys against each other like that. It wasn't a bad idea to start with, and it's like, if they wanted Williams to work with Austin, there are a whole bunch of different ways to get him out there instead of having him to come out and try to do a shoot fight for $100,000. It's not going to work out. What do you say of the fact that it killed his credibility?
Bro, we never wanted him to work with Austin. We never wanted him to work with Austin. That's JR. That was never a plan. Bro, I don't doubt for a second Austin didn't want to work with him. I don't doubt that for a second. But I'm telling you, that was not the creative plan.
All that, and Bart Gunn's reward is being knocked out in 35 seconds at WrestleMania 15 how did you first hear of Butterbean being brought in to face Bart Gunn as the payoff to this whole thing?
Man, I don't remember who pitched that. It could have been me. Maybe it wasn't me. I remember Butterbean was red hot at the time, and it was like a sideshow, bro. It was like a special attraction. And, it was at that time, as hot as Butterbean was, he was knocking out people right and left. It was interesting at that time, and I thought it was a good spot for Bart.
What was the anticipation for that? Did you have any thought as to maybe Bart's got a chance against this guy?
Oh, I definitely did, bro. I definitely did. I didn't know what was going on with his training at the time. I didn't know that. If I would have known that at the time, I mean, I would have said, like, wait a minute, like, why is he doing that? Like, why?
What do you mean his training?
Well,
at the
bro,
time?
what happened was when they signed the fight for him to fight Butterbean. I don't know who was behind this, but Mark Mero's legitimate trainer from Golden Glove, Ray Rinaldi started training Bart Gunn. And when Ray was training Bart, bro, he was training Bart as a boxer. He was totally changing Bart's game. And he was training and teaching Bart how to box. And so all of a sudden, Bart goes in that match against Butterbean trying to box him because that's what Ray was teaching him. And, all of a sudden, freaking, Butterbean catches Bart Gunn one time and it's lights out. And I mean, I've had conversations with Bart after many times, and he's like, I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I didn't just get in that ring and do what I did in the Brawl for All. I don't know why I tried to train as a boxer because I wasn't comfortable doing that.
It's interesting. It's like he switched horses midstream. He stopped doing what made him successful.
Yes.
And he took the advice of other people.
Yes.
What was the reaction in the back from Vince and yourself when
bro, that was shocking. I mean, I don't know about Vince. I can't speak. That was shocking to me. I mean, that was shocking. But then when I heard the story, I was like, bro, like, why would you, like, why? Just why? He never had a chance.
Was Bart Gunn now dead in the water the way Steve Williams was as a result?
That hurt him a lot, bro, because keep in mind, he still doesn't have the entertainment factor. He still has to learn that. But now that he got knocked out the way that he did, yes, I would say without a shadow of a doubt, that hurt Bart more than it hurt Dr. Death.
We will do our own postscript in a second, but Bruce Pritchard's postscript on Brawl for All is this. He says, in the end, JR and I had to deal with all the injuries. It cost a lot of money to the company in getting all these guys rehabbed and time off work. If I could do it all over again, even worked, I wouldn't do it all over again. It was the worst idea in wrestling. This had to be the worst idea. I'm just glad that it's over. At the end of the day, the blame goes to Vince McMahon. For everyone who says that Russo killed the business, Vince McMahon had to approve it.
Well, I would say, Bruce, if you think this idea was worse than putting a paper mache buffalo head on a human being and like not even realizing he wasn't going to be able to fit through the ropes, like if you think this was worse than a plumber with plumber's crack, if you think this was worse than the Freddie Joe Floyd, bro, if you think this was worse than who, I would kind of challenge you. And listen, I'm not shitting on Bruce's ideas, but when you say
a little bit.
Well, no, I'm not. But when you say this was the worst idea of all time, I'm questioning, was it really, bro? Like, how good was that Who character? Like, come on, bro. Now, if you were to say from a business, I don't know what it cost them for injuries. I don't have any of that data, bro. I have no idea. So if he were to say from a financial standpoint, okay, maybe this was the most, worst idea of all time. But that's not what he's saying. He's saying creatively, this was the worst idea. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, Bruce, especially with some of the things we saw in 94, 95.
For Impact, we had lots of injuries. We had guys getting exposed, maybe not being as tough as you thought they were, from Hawk, to JBL.
Whoa. What lots of injuries are we talking about? This is what I'm hearing. Hawk broke his freaking nose. Okay, bro? Savio Vega had a pinched nerve, and Dr. Death got seriously injured.
That's 3 out of 16.
Bro, but a broken nose? I mean, that's a serious – what is this, ballet? So what are you talking about, bro? You're talking about Dr. Death and Savio Vega? I mean, every freaking week in the WWE, somebody's getting hurt. Like, seriously, bro?
So
that's a lot of serious injuries?
Your contention is that the Brawl for All wasn't more dangerous than day-to-day wrestling in 2019?
Absolutely it wasn't, bro. I mean, come on, man. Absolutely not. And I guarantee you, bro, Doc got hurt the way he fell. Bro, he could have took that bump in a wrestling match. I guarantee I'd like to go back and see exactly where he probably fell awkwardly. Bro, if he tore a buttocks, it wasn't from Bart Gunn hitting him. He probably fell awkwardly. Come on, bro. Like, let's just be real here.
So that's a bad rap. It's a bad rap that it caused injuries.
Guys got hurt, but I don't think it was any more significant than guys getting hurt on a week-to-week basis in wrestling.
You've addressed the fact that you don't think it exposes the business. You don't think that putting a real shoot fight in the middle of a pro wrestling show does anything to diminish the quality or the credibility of that overall show, because your questions, bro, you could answer all those questions by looking at the ratings following the Brawl for All. Okay, bro, what was the WWE dead after the Brawl for All? I don't even need to answer that question. Go look at the numbers. Did the WWE die when the Brawl for All was over? Because now nobody believed the other shit was real. Go look at the freaking numbers, bro. I don't even need to argue that. That's a moot point. What about the fact of these guys kind of getting exposed for not being as tough as you thought they were? From Hawk to a Bob Holly to a JBL to a Godfather. When you have them legit knocked out in the ring.
I don't think people were looking at it that way at all, Matt. I think they were looking at it the opposite way, and that's what a freaking badass Bart Gunn was. I think that's how they were looking at it, and I think they were looking at it like he would have knocked anybody out. I don't think any of those guys got embarrassed or hurt getting knocked out by Bart Gunn.
So let's put a bow on this. Our Brawl for All episode, let's just say, Vince, that somebody on Twitch or somebody you run into, one of our Patreons, asks you a question and doesn't know what the Brawl for All is, and you had to describe it to them in just a few sentences. What was the Brawl for All? What was the impact? What is the overall lesson here? For
3 months, wrestling got real. And for 3 months, people had to either put up or shut up. And the people that needed to be shut up were shut up. That's what I would say.
And that brings to a close our episode on Brawl for All. Vince, do you have an outrage of the week for us this week?
Yeah, I have an outrage of the week, Mr. Henry.
Okay, here we go. What's your middle name?
James.
Oh, damn, you can't really make fun of James.
No. I want to talk about your new I don't even know what to call your new savior, a man by the name of Genghis Khan, bro.
Who's that? What do you mean?
The fearless leader of A&W.
Oh, Mr. Khan, Tony Khan.
Mr. Khan.
Tony Khan.
Yeah, Mr. Khan. I'll call him Mr. Khan out of respect.
Yeah, I call him Mr. Khan.
This isn't even a rant. The guy actually said the pay scale at A&W is going to be based on wins and losses, bro. As a shoot. Bro, the guy doesn't know how to work. The guy's not a worker. The guy's never been in the wrestling business. You can hear the clip. He's not working. He's dead serious because he says that among other things like seniority. Seniority is going to depend on what they get paid, wins and losses. Bro, let me tell you something. If that's what this guy is saying, and he's depending on people that have never been in vice president positions in the wrestling business ever, good luck to you, Mr. Khan. And I hope you need a tax write-off because, bro, with the stuff you're saying and doing, good luck. That's all I have to say. Good luck. And my advice to you would be, bro, if it were me, I would be saying nothing. I don't have a television deal. There's nothing for me to promote. I would be saying absolutely nothing.
This whole thing, wins and losses are going to matter with pay. I think of two arguments of 2 point of views that maybe you might be missing. One is that he's just working. He's just telling people, that wins and losses matter here. A matter of fact, people are going to get paid based on wins and losses. It's ridiculous on the surface. There's no way he actually believes that, right?
Bro, don't try to convince me. Bro, he believes it. Listen, you're Mr. AEW. This is going to be like the second coming. And great. Bro, if that's what you think, I'm not going to argue with you. What I am saying is, bro, everything I've seen is so Dixie Carter-ish, bro. And it's just mistake on top of mistake on top of mistake. And all I'm saying is, why? Like, why are you saying things publicly? Why is Cody saying things publicly? Why are the Bucks? You guys have nothing. Okay, bro, when you guys have a secured television deal, then we can talk about this. If right now, bro, when's the next show? May? What is there? There's some with All In, Let It Ride?
May 20th. I want to say it's Double or Nothing is May 20th.
Okay, bro. If Double or Nothing is May 20th and that is in the books, and I believe it is, bro, start promoting the shit out of that. Don't promote anything, bro, if it's not concrete. Because here's the bottom line, bro. We've been trained in wrestling where we've heard it all before. We don't believe anything till we see it. Okay, bro? That's how we've all been trained. And perfect case in point, Global Force Wrestling, bro. And I sat there and, bro, people are paying money to try out for Global Force Wrestling. And I'm sitting there, and Jeff got hot at me over this because he made a comment to me a couple of years ago. And because I sat there and I said, bro, there is no Global Force Wrestling. Like, there is no television deal. There's nothing. There's a name, and they're doing shows. That's what you have, bro. And sure enough, Global Force Wrestling comes and goes. My point is, don't say anything until you have something real and concrete to pass along.
Now, speaking of AEW wrestling, I kind of have a little outrage of my own this week. Do you mind if I indulging me for a second?
It's all you, bro.
So, there's been a couple people, 2 or 3, maybe more than that, who have been so upset that I like AEW and I'm wishing them well, and that they go to Vince sometimes, or they say on Twitter sometimes, we're not going to support Vince's show. These are fans of yours, Vince. We're not going to support Vince's show because of Matt. And the reality is, I'm here to stay. So you might want to learn to love it. And I get paid either way. So if you're trying to hurt Vince, that's fine. That's what you're doing. So if you're a fan of Vince and you don't like me and you're so upset that I like AEW and I believe what I believe. That you want to hurt Vince, that's up to you. But you got some snowflake fans out there, Vince. I'm not saying 5% of the brand. I'm not even saying 1% of the brand. I know the brand is thousands of people, and I've gotten so many more DMs and tweets of support than against. But when I hear these things of people actually trying to write Patreon and complain about me or trying to hurt, these are fans of yours.
Oh, we've lost. I've lost Patreon members because of Matt Henry Kuhn, bro. Make no bones about it, bro.
They can't handle the fact that there is another opinion, and they're too dumb to realize that what I'm doing is I'm giving you a platform to express yourself in a different way. So I'm going to slow this down for you just a little bit. When I challenge Vince on things, sometimes it forces Vince to articulate things differently and maybe in a way that gets him a bigger audience where actually the person that you say you support is more successful. And so then they're like, I'm upset at what Matt Kuhn says, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hurt Vince. These are your fans, Vince. It's insane to me. And this small segment, very small segment of your fans, they're the most vocal, and most of them don't have the courage to use their names. You know, first of all, it shows how cowardly some of these people are because they can't use their names and faces. But the fact is that when they start going after you, they're everything I say they are because they're hurting you. They're not hurting me. They're hurting you. So I just want to put that out there. If you guys want to, that small segment, it's not bothering me. But, if you want to cost Vince, that's up to you.
Well, I want to say this, Matt. First of all, I want A&W to succeed, and I'll tell you why. I want guys to be able to make money.
Because you like root beer? No,
I want guys to be. I want Billy Gunn to have a full-time job in wrestling for the next 20 years. Okay, no doubt about it. I don't know Kenny Omega. I want Kenny Omega to make money and not have to kowtow to Vince and Stephanie McMahon and be embarrassed on television because he tweets something out that they don't like. Okay, bro? So there is every reason in the book I want to see them succeed. But here's my point, though. This is my point, guys. Guys, I told you, I think it is the most childish, ridiculous, immature, babyish, laughable, I can't think of any more adjectives. The fact that dirt sheet guys, there are certain dirt sheet guys that no longer associate with Matt because Matt does a show with me. Bro, to me, that is the funniest thing. You might as well be a 3-year-old. Okay, bro? With that being said, this is the equivalent. Like, guys, if you have an issue with Matt because he is a fan of AEW, that is the equivalent of the dirt sheet writers no longer wanting to do business with Matt because he associates with me. Matt, if A&W takes off, I am ready. I am on the record. I am ready, willing, and able to say, bro, I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. Matt, you were dead on.
Likewise.
You're 100% correct. I will have no problem saying that. The things I say now, I'm just basing on what they're currently doing and what they're currently saying. That's all I'm basing it on right now. And, like I said, bro, I mean, I think it's great that you're a fan and I'm looking at the other side of it because that gives us something to talk about. But the fact, bro, if you're going to hold that against Matt, that's the equivalent of freaking Bruce Mitchell no longer being Matt Kuhn's friend. It's the same freaking thing, bro.
And, I blocked Bruce Mitchell for the same reason I blocked some of these people. It's always struck me as funny that the loud ones are the ones that hide. So if you want to say something, dude, say it. I'll be glad to disagree with you, and I'll be glad to say, well, man, we agree to disagree, just like I do with you, Vince. And it's just silly to me. I guess I just want to get the point out that when you try to hurt Matt Coon with the Patreon or whatever, you're just hurting Vince.
And Matt, just so you know, when they email me, like, that's what I tell them. I tell them like exactly that, bro. If you wanna hurt me, then go ahead, because that's the end result. And the fact of the matter too is, Matt, it's not even. I think what's worse than the non-identity. This is the part about this business that I hate. Why has it got to become personal?
That's a good question.
To me, bro, that's the point in the business where I don't even want to associate with this business anymore. It's embarrassing, bro. You can't have a civilized conversation with somebody with a different viewpoint without it turning into, oh, okay, you're fat and you're obese and you're a homophobe and you don't like black people. And that's the part, right? Somebody needs to explain to me, why does it always have to cross that?
To be clear, only a couple have been, homophobic, and nobody said anything about black people. But I will say that what gets me about the anonymous thing is that you can go after me for my weight, or you can go after me and say, oh, boo-hoo, Matt's playing the victim because he was an orphan, or Matt's a terrible father, but I can't say anything to you. I don't know who you are. So that's why I say it's a bitch move. Now, I haven't said anything personal about anybody because I don't know who they are, and I probably wouldn't. And also, it goes to show that maybe I'm a little bit more with you than you think if I've got Jim Cornette attacking me on the daily as well. So just take a moment, guys, and think about, if you're a Vince Russo fan, why are you looking to hurt Vince? And if you're looking to criticize me, come out from the shadows, be a man, say your name. It's the same stuff that Vince accuses Bischoff and Cornette of, is not meeting him face to face. If you're not willing to show your identity, you're certainly much worse than a Bischoff or a Cornette, who at least we know who they are. Like I said, I think that's the last time I'll ever address it. I just wanted to address that, Vince, and I'm glad you gave me the platform.
Yeah. And Matt, another thing like that jumps out at me, and I want you to understand, and I want people to understand too, the victim thing. Okay. That's what Bruce Mitchell said about me. Oh, Bruce, you know what it is, guys? Let me explain to you where the victim thing comes from. And this is a shoot. Okay, bro? Matt Coon and myself, bro, we're legitimately nice guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're nice guys. You guys are acting like assholes. So the fact that we're trying to be nice and you're acting like assholes, to you that equates to, oh, you're playing the victim. No, bro, we're not playing the victim. We're nice people. You're an asshole. And that's what it really, really comes down to, because I've seen Matt address this situation. Now, Matt, I'll be honest with you, you're a lot like me. I see you try to diffuse it in a respectful manner.
I try.
But then I see you lose your cool. I'm the same way. We're human freaking beings, guys. But the fact that you gotta push us to the point of, okay, bro, now you want the gloves off. Now the gloves are gonna come off. Why does it ever have to get to that point, bro? We can disagree with things, man.
Yeah. So grow up or don't. I get paid either way, and I'm not going anywhere. I invite anybody with a real identity, with a real name, to come and talk to me anytime. My DMs are open. My phone number is easy to find. So I don't want it to get personal, and I'd say I haven't gotten personal with anybody. You want to get personal with me, it says more about you than it does me, and I'm still going to live my life. Vince, I think we had a good show today. We talked about Brawl for All. We had a couple outrages, and make sure to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/RussoCoonDWC. Regardless of all the hubbub, man, oh man, what a great week it was for our Patreon. We are doing some great things over there, and we have a lot of people listening to it.
Yeah, no, I thank you guys, man. That's how you can really, support the show. And I say it all the time, bro. Listen, Patreon is for the serious Russo Coon fan. It's for the serious brand fan. It's extra content if you want it. I mean, that's what it's there for. And Matt and I, like, bro, if we're on the same page about one thing, it's you're going to get your money's worth. We're not going to tiptoe through anything, bro. I get text messages from Matt. We're doing this on Thursday, this on Friday for the Super Bros, this for the Super Ladies, this, that, and we do it. But that's what it's for, bro, and that supports us. That literally gives us the time, because, you know, bro, we've got to generate income from our time. So the hours that we put into this, bro, we've got to generate income because we got bills like everybody else. If we don't generate income, we can't pay those bills, and we got to go do something else. I mean, it's that simple. So the fact that you guys support us, you make this, you make us able to do this. And without you, there's no show. And I have no problem saying that. And I thank each and every one of you very much.
And we thank you guys all for listening to Truth with Consequences.